Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you like side quests. Yes, I do. I dream about them every day. Every night. Every waking moment. There's nothing but side quests. Somewhere? Oh, there it is.
Good day to you. Cid.
I've actually already answered that act, and my answer hasn't changed so far. I'm predicting this will score somewhere around the lines of FF10, 10-2, and 12 scores.
Ah, Clive. Your timing is exquisite, as always. I have a concern which you may be able to assist me with.
Go on.
There are whisperings afoot of shadowy figures having been sighted outside the village. Rustlings in the undergrowth, suspicious noises. My people fear that they are being watched. It may be no more than a surfeit of nerves, understandable in the current climate, or it may be the prelude to something altogether more dangerous. Given what I hope you'll forgive me calling your nose for trouble, I wondered if you might investigate.
Of course.
Excellent. You might begin by speaking with the good citizens of Lostwing. Listen to their tales, and make what you will of them.
All right. I will.
Oh no, I'm totally playing it up. It's your fault. So, I should explain where that joke's coming from. Like, almost a year ago? 6, 8, 9 months, several months ago.
Right. Let's see what the people of the village have to say. I better find out if this is just or something we need to take more seriously.
Someone, and I don't remember who exactly, was going through the game and hit a certain point when they just kind of got flooded with side quests. And they specifically mentioned to me how many issues they were having pushing through the game, because they kind of wanted to do the side quests because there was still interesting story there, but they kind of didn't because they were getting so sloggy, and it just sapped their will to play. So I made the obvious joke of, well, that's how side quests are in most RPGs, whether J or online or MMO or A or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? That is, for lack of a better way to put it, the norm. And then that got into a conversation discussing it in relation to Lotro and the eternal chaining of side quests in Lotro. For those of you not aware, Lotro has its flaws and its joys, but it also has more side quests. Like, I don't even have an analogy for it. You will go into a zone, and there's a guy who's like, hey, can you go get, like, 5 boar pelts for me? And you're like, sure. And you turn them in, and the reward for doing that side quest is 2 more side quests. One of which rewards you with 3 more side quests. And once you do those, that one rewards you with 5 more side quests. I am not actually exaggerating. In fact, I'm thinking of a specific area, the Troll Shaws. It's much worse than FF14. It's more or less the same thing that happened with the Moogle quests, exactly. Now, that's the whole game. Lotro is just like that. Obviously, this is nowhere near that bad. But when I think of side quests, for whatever reason, that's kind of immediately what my brain goes to, hence the joke. But to be clear, for those of you who don't know me, it is a joke. The side quests are fine. They're not particularly fun to do on a gameplay axis, but they're at least interesting for the most part on a story axis. I've only found a few where I felt the desire to go ahead and start skipping through the dialogue, because for the most part there's been some interesting stuff there. Hi, Evo. What's the answer to the riddle? I'll ask everyone else the riddle. What do you call a rabbit with piles and piles of Easter eggs? A billionaire. A billion hair.
Do you have a moment? There's talk of suspicious figures in the woods. Have you seen anything out of the ordinary?
No, but I've heard something. Sound of scraping metal, like someone sharpening a sword.
Where was this?
In Lorbert's Pass. Was out foraging for herbs when I heard it, screeching out from between the trees. Ran back here as quick as my legs would carry me, and I ain't been back since.
I see. I'll look into it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's another thing. The fast travel back to turn in side quest feature didn't exist when my friend was going through this quest.
Seems Lorbert's Pass is our
Rather,
best
through
bet, then.
these quests.
What do you say, Torgal? Shall we go and investigate?
And yeah, I can absolutely attest that that would slog this down a bit. It wouldn't be, it's funny, it wouldn't be that much additional time, because you just pop up this, warp to here, go through a load time, and then be like, hey, what's up? But this little path of menu, warp to, load screen, walk to, that is the definitions of seconds and minutes right there, right? That would definitely add, like, just fractions of padding to every single side quest in the game, and that would drag. Instead, it's like, oh, we finished a side quest. One load screen, and we're there. Yeah, exactly. If there was, like, non-100% drop rate, or non-indicative quest indicators, or all kinds of other things. There's lots of ways these could be a lot worse than they are.
You there?
We killed Hugo. Whatever.
Fuck! He's seen us. Get them before they escape.
Why would you ever do this?
Here.
Oh, okay. Goodbye.
What are you doing here?
What is it to you? Not that we give a damn. All that matters to us is that you don't leave here alive.
You got it. You won't leave here alive. I promise. Yeah, no, they're very basic quests, but they're polished to the point where they're inoffensive. And honestly, it's probably as good as they were going to manage. I don't want to be dismissive, but FF14's own side quests are honestly pretty terrible. Not as bad as the Lotro stuff, but, you know. There's a reason why so many side quests in FF14 are talk to person, or fight one mob, and then immediately move on, right? I even talked about that. I don't blame them for that, because that's just playing to their strengths. Wait a second. You caught me in the middle of combat here. Yeah, exactly. So you missed that. Whatever. Come on. Anyways, thank you very, very much for the sub, Game for Chill. I know you're somewhat new here, so you can put that towards up to 3 future games of your choice in order to increase interest in streaming those games in the future. You can also just put it towards a general genre of a game, or towards dealer's choice, in which case I will just allocate it myself. Hey, Valerian. Hope your day's going well. Because if it isn't, then I need to conquer the entire world. The whole thing, just...
Why were they here? Are they planning an attack on Lostwing?
Oh, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with regards to side quests... And we're there. That's it. That's all turning in a quest involves. WoW invented a tech in the Cataclysm era, which I absolutely love, which is similar to this, but not quite the same. They don't always use it. It depends. But you can essentially turn in quests immediately. As in, you don't have to talk to an NPC to turn in a quest. You have finished the quest, so you turn it into, like, the universe. If that makes any sense. You just turn it in on the spot. And I will never forget when that first popped up, because it was the first time I'd seen this type of quality of life feature. And, you know, this is like 2010, so this is a while ago. And I was just like, oh my god, that's so much better. I don't have to go back to town and talk to people. Oh god, this is great. Alright, Evo, you got this. Ilyani. Evo, Ilyani. The great, the wonderful, the amazing. Wild War Within, Planescape, Torment. And Pathfinder Raw of the Terrible Crusades. Now, I can't bow, but... Oh, wrong direction, wrong direction. I wanted to say, Evo, if that's okay, if I could say this, thank you very much for the sub. I do always appreciate your support. Thank you. If that's okay to say. God, I think my voice has actually gotten deeper since I voiced Phoebe.
Clive, how goes the hunt for our sinister figures?
I found some black shields hiding near Lorbert's Pass. They're gone now.
Black Shields. The Empress's former bloodhounds, though they serve another master now. One who means to root out and destroy both me and those I care for. And it would appear the pack has finally caught the scent of its prey. Damn it all. I had hoped I would have more time than this. More time to prepare. But if we are cornered, we have no choice but to bite back. And bite back we shall.
I'm sorry. You're going to need to explain. Who did the Black Shield serve now? And why would that person want you dead?
Because I want him dead.
Who?
The former Lord Chief Justice of Sanbreque. All that I have built here is for him.
I don't understand. Why him? Why Lostwing?
I suppose it is better that you know the truth. I was a member of the judiciary once. So sickened was I by the injustice of this world, I swore to fight it. And fight it I did in my own small way. I saw more than a few corrupt officials condemned to the very cells into which they had thrown blameless innocents. Men to whom the law was but a scourge to turn against the powerless. And throughout, it was the Lord Chief Justice who backed me, who was my one true ally in the quest to see justice done.
So what changed?
I discovered that he hunted bearers for sport. I was a fool to think he shared my hatred of venality and vice. His support for me was no more than a facade, a means of ridding himself of his rivals, a mask to hide the rot beneath. I filed suit against him immediately. His response, however, was rather more visceral. He had my entire family slaughtered, and he faced no punishment whatsoever. I lost everything. My loved ones, my livelihood, my position, the faith I had once held that any modicum of justice might be achieved through the courts. So I set about enacting my own. I tracked down every soul who served him, and slit their throats myself. But the man himself proved an altogether more difficult target. With money and power come protection. And so I saw that I would need an army of my own. I came here to Lostwing and began recruiting like-minded individuals.
And everyone here knows this is why you do what you do.
Of course. They too have lost loved ones to the bearer hunts. Seen faultless friends sent to the gallows to spare the guilty. All under the watchful eye of the Lord Chief Justice. Our wounds are the same. And our cause is the same. We are comrades. And our revenge is already in motion. We know where he hides, how numerous and well-trained his guard. What we did not know until now, however, was that his plans may already be in motion too.
Quinten.
Our time is short. He may move against us at any moment, unless we move against him first. My friends and comrades, it begins. Make ready for war.
And yes, to answer Linnarith briefly, there were 8 Mother Crystals. There are 2.
I'm not going to change his mind.
How's that, Dev? Weren't there 8? I could double check myself, but I don't want to Google that. Yeah, I thought we lost the Northern Kingdom ones. That was Shiva's. And then the water one was destroyed by something. They actually mentioned that. I'm trying to remember. They have been mentioning this stuff in the background a bit, and I've been paying attention, but of course I can't remember anything right now. I imagine the Leviathan DLC is going to be about the water crystal, to some extent or another. Oh yeah, Southern Ash, that was the other one. In fact, I believe... maybe I'm wrong. Oh well.
Gone, just like that. And without so much as a by your leave.
What's the matter?
It's my apprentice. He up and vanished while my back was turned.
It's okay.
I'd go and look for him myself, but I've got a bakery to run. A bakery that's now short 1 pair of hands. Loath though I am to rely on the kindness of strangers, I'm at a loss. Please, will you see if you can find him?
I'll see what I can do. Do you know where he might have gone?
I wouldn't be surprised if he was off somewhere mooning at Drake's Fang. He used to work there, you see. Poor fool left his heart in its hollow.
All right. Then that's where I'll start.
Okay, so yeah, I think I was mistaking ice with water, because it's ice, lightning, and wind that were lost. That's an interesting question, Spartan, which I'm going to immediately dodge. Hey! Look, there's a squirrel over there.
Plates and pots!
I have noticed they've stopped hitting the bleak note over and over, and that has definitely been increasing my enjoyment of the story. Ignoring the obvious fact that I'm not a big fan of bleak, as I mentioned earlier, they were just hitting that note too often to the point where it stopped being bleak and started being boring. You had to pace that stuff a little bit more, you know? Like, for example, today we did 2 side quests about what the brands were and how they operated, where we finally learned more of the details of the wyvern poison that's involved in that. That's good. I'm with that. How was... okay, if you say so, Pillars now. Personally, I think Pillars is completely insane. Excuse me. What's really weird is the thing I'm not allowed to mention or Blade Develop will kill me was, in my opinion, a huge misstep in the story, but I've also been enjoying the story a lot more since then. You'll notice Jill has gotten more characterization. Oh, hey, there's what's left of it. Jill has gotten more characterization, and Clive has been delving out a little bit more too, and most of the meatier side quests have been since then. I actually have a theory. There's this thing, anybody who's ever written anything knows what this is like, where you want to tell a story and you have so many different ideas that you're not sure which ideas you should include in your story. It's a very careful line to walk to decide which of those things should be in your story and which shouldn't. And I feel like that's been a thing for many Final Fantasy games, not just this one, where there's some stuff where it's just like, why is this in this game at all? Why did you bother to include this? Sometimes they manage the mix and match pretty well. Final Fantasy IV, for example, is actually a mostly grounded against the vicious empire, military political intrigue story, which happens to dovetail pretty neatly into the fighting the big fantastical villain story at the same time. But FF4 executes that well, in my opinion. Not every FF actually manages that balance. FF12 is another good example of one that actually does a good job of that, because in FF12 it's almost entirely dominated by the political intrigue, but there's this outside context problem, which is kind of throwing everything, into the mix. It's messing up the system. It's messing up the order of things. And there's a reason why the destruction of the Leviathan is one of the biggest sea changes of that entire story, right? It's because nobody could have possibly predicted that was going to happen. And so all of a sudden, a metaphorical nuke has just destroyed an entire fleet, and now the entire geopolitical landscape of the entire continent has changed. And it's treated with the gravity it should, too. Stuff like that, right? Sorry, getting a little bit off topic. Point here being that this game feels like it wasn't 100% sure what it wanted to do. And so it's been dipping its toes in and out of several different styles of storytelling. You know what I mean? Like, that giant cavernous maw I'm staring at right now is certainly a little bit more Final Fantasy-y, for lack of a better way to put that. And Lord knows they have been showcasing how much of an impact this has been having. And yet at the same time, there's something that happened in the background that they've barely touched on. An entire imperial entity, one polity, moved its capital. Just up and abandoned its capital city. And yet that's barely had any real visible impact, other than the fact that they're now fighting over the city that they were already fighting over. You know what I mean? So on the one hand, they've absolutely been having there be some ramifications, consequence. I call that consequence storytelling. But on the other hand, it feels like there's some elements of the story they either didn't have time for, which is possible given the crunch, or weren't really sure what to do with, and so they just kind of left it over there in the background. No, it's not to the point of being schizophrenic. I've played schizophrenic games. This isn't there. If you put a gun to my head, which you do a lot, I would say, and I know this is going to sound strange, that this is a first game. This game feels very experimental to me. In terms of its narrative structure, in terms of its focus on which characters and when, in terms of its narrative pacing, in terms of its gameplay pacing, in terms of its gameplay structure, in terms of bosses, encounters, and dungeon design, in terms of its itemization. This game feels like an experiment to me. And obviously, the numbers over here indicate I'm more with it than not, but you get the point.
Excuse me.
What do you want?
The baker sent me to find you.
I am a sorry, selfish sod, aren't I? Certainly not a baker. Master must have ruled the day he took me in. Time was the sight of the fang used to calm my nerves. But now look at her.
I take it you missed the mother crystal.
I hated her, but she was all I knew. Worked her mines for years. And when she shattered, part of me shattered with her.
I swear I didn't know this is the quest I was about to do. I swear I didn't realize I was about to talk to someone who was going to discuss the ramifications of the destruction of the Mother Crystal. Yeah, no, I get what you mean, though, Blade Javal. There feels like a lot of moments which should have happened earlier. You know, like the placing of them in the narrative is kind of odd. Lunarith even brought this up earlier. There's this weird beat where we have this great build-up, and then this fantastic Titan fight, and then we have like a breather section where we can go do 2 side quests, and we go back to town, we chat with people, then we go and we have what is functionally another breather section where we have the lighthearted moment with Byron, which is awesome, by the way. And then we go after Titan. That is such a weird dip there. And it's not like it's a bad dip. Again, none of this is a complaint of quality. It's more confusion. And that could be... Maybe you're right, Blitwell. Maybe this whole thing is just a series of compromises. What is it I prefer about FF6 to FF4? Yes. I'm not being facetious. I don't like to exaggerate. You know me. I don't like to say this thing is 11 out of 10 or this is the best game ever or anything like that. But I have sat down in a very boring, clinical, dull fashion, gone back to FF6 and analyzed it and showcased just how well designed of a game it really is. The sheer level of thought put into even the tiniest details, like how the items are sorted in your inventory. That's something they thought about. For those of you who don't know, there's actually 2 separate scripts that happen when any item goes into your inventory to determine where it ends up in the inventory. Did you know they're actually automatically sorted and bracketed by type? But within that type, you can manually sort them, of course, and it'll remember that if you go to do the auto sort from then on. Or how about the fact that if you're going to equip and unequip and re-equip things, there's a natural order by which it pushes them back in your inventory when you unequip them, so that when you go to re-equip something else, it pushes them towards the top. Tiny details like that are everywhere in Final Fantasy VI. That's why I prefer Final Fantasy VI.
I had to trade my pickaxe for a rolling pin, but I'm no good at baking. Every loaf I touch collapses. My bread's as hollow as I am. She was the only thing that could fill the hole inside me. Oh, I loved her, damn it. But now she's gone. She's never coming back. What am I supposed to do? I ask her. How does a shell of a man learn to live again?
So our options are express yourself, remember the good times, or focus on your work. I know my answer. What are you thinking? I know, Rex. Like, I don't want to go too much into this, but it is very strange how many of the insane quality of life features that FF6 has, the insane polish, that they lost in later FFs. Like, we'll go with express yourself.
Perhaps you could express yourself in your work. If you miss the Fang, maybe you could recapture it somehow.
Recapture it? I'm a baker, not a... You know, you might just be right. What a fool I've been! I have to get back to the bakery right away. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. You've opened my eyes.
Wait.
Now, to go back to the Titan topic for 1 second.
Needing an escort then.
Mother Crystal Cakes! Get your Mother Crystal Cakes here! Fine, Dwarven Mother Crystal Cakes. So, there's the first Titan fight, the Hugo fight. That fight is awesome. In my opinion, it's actually the best battle in the game to date, as of this moment. But that's purely from a gameplay perspective, right? By contrast, the fight with Titan there is probably the best narrative fight we've had so far. So if you had to pick one of those to happen before the other, which one would you pick to happen first? And yeah, FF9 is another good example of a game that just had tons of quality of life features that they just sort of forgot in 10.
Ah, there you are. The man who lit a fire under my wayward apprentice. Though I worry you might have stoked the flames a little too high. He damn near ran me down trying to get to my oven.
Master, it's ready. Behold the Drake's Balm. A truly unique creation.
I dare say it is.
Just look at it. A perfect likeness of the Fang herself.
It's meal.
Steeple peaks, her fulsome spurs, her inviting hollow. True, my loaves collapse more often than not, but what's the Fang without her crater? Why, no Fang at all. And look, inside. She's filled to bursting with a bounty of beautiful crystals. Salt crystals! Master, I have found my purpose. I must use my work here to preserve the memory of the Fang.
Well, if it tastes half as unique as it looks, I'd certainly say you're onto something. Not only is my apprentice back, but he's finally pulling his weight. With any luck, I might even have a new delicacy on my hands. I don't know how you did it, but you have my thanks.
Pretzel bowl's a thing. Someone Google that. Please.
Now, Dusan, I know you're keen, but do you have to use the good salt? Leave some for the rest of us.
Sorry, Master. I'll go and get some more later.
Yeah, let me introduce you to this concept called a jam.
The most fragrant herbs and...
My carpets have pride of place in...
Pretzel bowls. Oh my gosh.
Looks like I found the river. Now where's Gav?
So, most sentient beings follow a fairly simple pattern. There's our opinions, there's our preferences, there's our decisions, there's our ideals, and then there's pragmatic reality. And the two rarely meet. Humans will do tremendous things to survive. And we are actually an extraordinarily hardy species when you get down to it. And the reason I bring this up is because there is some very deeply ingrained racism in this setting towards bearers. To answer Rax's question, I think that in the wake of how bad things are about to get for this world, given the absence of, well, I can't even see it from here, one of the primary resources that has been funding and feeding its entire society economically and resource-wise, yeah, I think that bearers are going to stop being abused so much because they're going to have to stop being abused so much, whether they want to or not. And plenty of bearers are certainly going to be figuring out that reality too, especially since we're getting more and more and more people as part of our overall revolution. Not just bearers themselves, but other people who obviously think of them as people. As the old saying goes, there's more of us than them. And if the them no longer have the power and the backing of things like crystals, then their position is a lot weaker, right? That's my overall take. Now, do I think the bearers will take over and become dominant? Logically, that is the most likely thing that would happen next. Which I say with a sigh, because that is not an ideal situation. But there's no real getting around that. There's going to be too much generational bias. Yeah, no, exactly. There's going to be too much generational bias against all of the suffering that they have endured, and too many people are going to be unwilling to let that go. So, yeah, we're probably going to lean more towards something like Tevinter. In fact, I wouldn't be particularly surprised if we have already been through this cycle at least once. That there was a time in which there were mage lords, and there aren't anymore now, and they're being abused because of the abuse the mage lords themselves did. I haven't seen any hint of that. I'm just saying that is the kind of thing that wouldn't surprise me at all in a setting like this. Hi, Gav.
Sorry to keep you, Gav.
Better late than never. I've had a quick scout about, and I reckon round here's our best bet if we want to grab as much of this Stardust stuff as we can. Don't know what Blackthorn's planning to do with it, though. I asked over in Dalamil, and they seem to think it was worthless. But if Stardust is what Blackthorn wants, Stardust is what he'll get. There's plenty of this stuff lying about, just begging to be bagged.
Then let's get bagging, shall we?
We shall. Race ya.
I mean, yeah, not to continue the Dragon Age parallels, but that's pretty much exactly what happened in the history of Thedas. Yeah, there's a lot of Magitek ruins all over the place.
This is Stardust. It just looked like black sand to me.
Yeah, new Dragon Age comes out in a week. Well, hang on. One last one for posterity. I'm afraid the coin says it will not be good. Well, there's some historical precedence on that, Spartan. But not to go too much into real-life materials, there's two generally successful ways to break a cycle of violence. Technically three. The third, which is the least desirable, is everyone involved dies. When there's no one on either side left, the cycle ends. Let's skip over that one. Option one is for a external force to come in and shake up the status quo. I'll use a completely made-up example here. The Braguanites and the Ilianites have been at war for centuries, and sometimes one gets the dominant of the other, and then that goes back into the other way, and vice versa. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Ruximites show up, and they're like, "Mwahaha!" And the two sides are like, "Oh, crap!" And obviously there's some infighting and some bickering and some teeth, wrangling, but enough people on the ground floor interact with the other side to the point where they start to lose those biases. It's a lot harder for any sentient sapient being to hold on to that kind of a prejudice when they are faced with the tangible evidence of it not being true in a way that we convey so well. I'm saying that wrong, but let me explain that a little bit better. If I tell you, oh God, I can't say it right. Let's pretend you hate the pineapple on pizza people, okay? Just go with that. So, the pineapple on pizza people, right? You hate them. They're disgusting. And if I come to you and I say, well, they're not evil. They're not awful. They're not disgusting. All I'm doing is giving you words. But if you meet one, you see them face to face, their tone, their body language, their individuality, so much more individual information is being conveyed to your brain, which makes them more real. It makes them more tangible to you. And thus it becomes much harder to hate that person and what they are because you're literally seeing one. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply universally, but this is generally how sapience works. When we are faced with something in a no-really fashion that we are essentially custom-tailored to take in, it's a lot harder to hold on to that kind of crap, right? So, external force forces people together, and then they start seeing the other side face-to-face. A lot of those tensions can be diffused in those kind of moments. Doesn't always work, doesn't always last, but that's one of the methods. The other method is what I like to call the gap. The gap is exactly what it sounds like. It's, imagine like, okay, so the Ilianites are like, ah, and the Braguanites are like, ah, and the Ilianites are like, wah. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't matter why, there's no wah for a bit. Say about a generation, 20-ish years. And if there's that gap, that pause, enough time passes that all of that wah starts to fade a little bit more into the background. People are born who never knew that. People who are grown up on stories, but actually never experienced it for themselves and never had to actually deal with that for themselves. And have the everyday life of just, again, seeing the other side as other people rather than the enemy. Those are the three most consistent methods by which that tends to work.
That should be enough for now. Let's see how Gav's getting on.
True, Evo. He's got a bag full.
You finished? How much did you get?
Enough. I hope.
Oh, you win. That might even be enough for old Blackthorn. Hey, before we go, do you mind if we have a chat?
Yes, I'll have sex with you. Take me, Gav. Take me like your French girls.
Feels like ages since we had the chance to talk. You know, man to man like.
It does, doesn't it?
Back when you first took Cid's name, we were talking all the time. Working out what to do in that.
There was a lot to work out.
And there still is. Those shoulders of yours starting to feel the strain. Hardly ever see you around the hideaway nowadays. Always on some errand or other. You can take a day off, you know.
Well, says the man who spends most of his time behind enemy lines.
Only 'cause you keep sending me there.
I know I can count on you, Gav.
Likewise. So you keep sending me wherever you need to, and I'll keep going. Safe in the knowledge that I have a home to come back to.
Gav's dead.
Thanks to you.
Gav's dead. No. Don't kill my Gav. Okay, let me at least lose my virginity to him first, okay? Can we do that, please?
Right. That's enough soppy shite for one day. We'd better get this lot back to Blackthorn before he slings his hammer at someone.
You go on ahead. And try to get some rest once you're there.
Oh, I plan to. Believe you me. After Blackthorn gets what he needs, of course.
Right. Ready to go home, boy?
Hello, Czar. Yeah, I love how you pretty much can't face the camera in any angle without seeing some degree of, like, ancient ruins or something. Of course, I immediately proved myself wrong, but still, there's ancient ruins right over there on the horizon. Oh, absolutely, Matt Overlord. Do you remember seeing all the gemstones around his fortress?
Blackthorn. Got everything you need?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Cheers for the stardust. Should be enough to be getting on with.
We should go out on maneuvers together more often. You know, it beats sneaking around on your Todd all the time.
Who's Jill, Miranda?
Putting this thermal plating together then. It'll take some time, mind. So if you've got other things to be getting on with, I could do without you breathing down my neck.
Thank you, Blackthorn. I'll let Mid know construction's underway.
Oh no, that would be interesting, Blade Taval. That would also mean, hypothetically, yeah, this is my first time playing, that there's only two possible positive states. All of them are present, or none of them are present.
Suppose we'd better be getting back to work too.
Give us a shout if you need anything.
Just looking for side quests. So that's lightning? Wild.
He cracked the crystal too? You're joking.
Well, the good news is, as of this moment in time, Clive and Jill are not a couple. I know they reached for a kiss, but that is the full extent of anything that's happened there. Yeah, I thought that was darkness too, but Pillars of Snow said it was lightning.
We're seeing troops amassing at every border.
Oh, right.
How may I help you today, Clive?
Give me stuff.
Your benefactors are a generous lot. You earned this. All yours. Best of luck out there, Cid.
I'm mostly poking fun. Going back to that not sure what they're doing thing, I legitimately think they didn't know what to do with her as a character. That's one of the reasons why she has a separate negative for inconsistency. Because sometimes she's awesome and sometimes she's not. Sometimes she's present and sometimes she's not. Like, I don't want to bear the lead on this, but even Rosa was more consistent of a character than Jill has been so far. And Rosa spent a decent chunk of that mid-game period being a damsel in distress to be rescued.
If I don't come up with something soon.
You'll be pleased to hear that Blackthorn's started work on the plating.
Excellent. 1 down, 2 to go.
So, what's next?
The helm, of course. For this, we'll be repurposing fallen scrap.
Salvage from the ruins? I thought that material was all but impossible to work.
Ah, but we don't have to.
I'm sorry.
Just so happens there's one particular ruin that's broken into exactly the right shape and size pieces for what we need. What's the name back there? I'll give you all the details.
What's her name? Right.
Oh man, if we had the FF15 party in this game... Oh, this might push up to the top tier of games for me if that was true. Top tier of FFs, I mean.
Oh, Cid, is this about the helm?
Yes. Mid said I should speak with you.
I'll show you the plans then. Here you see the mithril engine, in which mithril is burned to generate heat. That heat is then harnessed to produce motive force. Excess heat is dealt with by means of the thermal displacement stack, which disperses it into the surrounding air. Now, were we to rely on thermal plating alone to achieve this effect, the rate of excess heat buildup would far exceed the displacement coefficient of the plating. In other words, the reactor would overheat and eventually explode. This is where the helm comes in. It connects to the plating, you see, and serves as a sort of thermal sink to absorb all that excess energy. Our experiments have shown that fallen ceramics are remarkably thermophilic.
They are
They can
ceramics.
withstand and absorb levels of heat far above anything we are able to make today. And not only that, they're also waterproof and immune to rust, making them the perfect material for our protective hood. Why? If sea or rainwater were to enter the reactor proper, it would vaporize instantly. The forces produced would tear the ship from stern to...
You can stop there. I understand. Mid said we might be able to use parts of a fallen ruin. Where would I find it?
Ah, yes. It's in Lorbert's Pass, near Lostwing. The thing is, well, I probably should have arranged to have the pieces we need brought here sooner. You see, a certain unwanted visitor has taken up residence there. It's no longer a matter of just walking in and taking them. It's, going to be considerably more dangerous than that.
I see. Then I suppose I'd better deal with this unwanted visitor for you. Would that help?
Oh, very much. Thank you, Cid. I'll gather my team and head there right away. We'll meet you outside the ruins.
So, for Spartan, coming from me, this should mean more. Because the main cast, you get 4 party members in FF15. There's some guest party members, they don't matter. You get 4 party members, right? 3 of those are really, really, really good party members in terms of story. Those 3 characters are not only good characters in and of themselves, but also have fantastic chemistry with each other. So all 3 characters are many, many positives.
Taking you all to a storehouse in the Bales. Leave anything you don't need behind.
I know, Rex. But still, Noctis, Ignis, and Prompto are fantastic. In total honesty, just in terms of sheer weight of quality of animation, voice acting, character, and character dynamic, and character growth, excuse me, there's another one. That might be my favorite party in an FF game, and that is saying something. Because that's going up against the juggernauts of 6 and 9.
If you're ready, we leave at once.
However, 15 has substantial problems in many directions. I strongly recommend watching my lore run, the proper remake lore run, of FF15, because I discuss a fairly large amount of the behind-the-scenes stuff going on, as well as the story that never actually got into the game itself. Which helps explain a lot of what the hell is going on, but also recontextualizes a lot of things, too. FF15 feels like, I would honestly say, the most undercooked Final Fantasy. Like, it's more or less literally raw in the middle. There are story elements that just don't make sense or don't have the backing to be presented in the way that they needed to be. So they go from being story elements to being, wait, what? Now, gameplay-wise, FF15 is like baby's first ARPG. I say without hyperbole that Secret of Mana on the SNES actually has more depth and complexity to its combat system than FF15 does. And again, yeah, it's the incomplete nature of it. That game was sabotaged from word go. So I don't hold a lot of particular ire towards it, but there's no avoiding the fact that the finished product is just undercooked.
Oh, there you are, Cid. Thanks so much for coming. The, ruins are just over there, as is the creature I told you about, I'd imagine. Would you mind?
I actually like this cadence of this actress, by the way.
I'll be right back.
This is how you sound hesitant. Like there's just an uncertainty about her word choice.
Anybody home?
You again.
This must be our unwanted visitor.
Alright, let's kill him.
Time to go.
Yeah, we've talked before about which FF games, need a proper remake the most. 15 might be towards the top of that list. I can see that, Blade to Ball. Lord knows they seem to agree. Think about how many games they shoved out in the last 3 years alone.
The things I do for you, Mid.
Cid! Oh, thank goodness you're safe.
You shouldn't have any trouble now.
Indeed. Well, don't let us keep you. We'll, see that everything is transported safely back to the hideaway.
All right. I'll let Mid know you're on your way.
Come up with something soon.
Mid. Helena has recovered the material for the helm. She'll be along shortly.
Excellent. Another job well done.
And just one remaining.
Right. Right, the shielding. This one's a bit of a bugger.
How so?
The plating's enough to stop the engines going pop, but those things will still be spitting out enough fire to set the rest of the ship ablaze. Which is why you need proper shielding. A prison for the dragon's breath that's blazing away inside. I thought a triple thick layer of tempered steel might do it. Or more of the stuff that the Fallen use, but they'd both be too heavy. The helm and the plating are bulky enough as it is. Add any more weight and the whole ship would be at the bottom of the briny before we'd even started. I need something light. But I've racked my brains and I just can't think what would do it.
Well, if I were in need of obscure knowledge, I know whose counsel I would seek. Hippocrates.
Tomes? Yeah, well, I'd thought of that, obviously. I've got all the details written down here. Can you take this to him, see what he makes of it?
Right away.
I mean, she's already on her way to being that, Dream Whisperer. She's making a freaking airship. How many other airships have you seen in this game so far?
I think Mid might need some help.
Well, I meant not ancient airships built by a long-lost civilization that are still flying in the sky. No, I agree, though. I don't want to bang on this drum yet again, but I do think a lack of proper management is an absolute plague for a lot of companies in the industry, not the least of which being Square, who has extremely talented people they clearly have absolutely no idea what to do with.
Hippocrates, do you have a moment?
For you, Clive, always.
I'm currently estimating we'll finish up sometime around Tuesday, Evo.
Well, actually, it's for Mid this time. Could you take a look at this?
Shielding for a mithril engine. Whatever will that girl think of next? And what are these notes around the edges?
She has some specific requirements for the materials. The shielding needs to be able to resist extreme heat on the inside, and yet remain cool enough on the outside not to set the ship alight, while also being light enough not to sink it. As you can imagine, she's struggling to find anything that meets her needs.
I see.
I wondered if you might know of a solution, or if you might be able to search the records for one.
Perhaps it is not a different material she requires, but a different approach.
What do you mean?
Consider the lake we have made our home. Its blighted waters eat away far more quickly than fresh water or even brine, at timber and steel alike. And yet, we have made a home here from those very materials nonetheless.
We have. but Bardolph must varnish every board twice over to keep it from rotting. And Obelus complains that without a constant supply of pitch. I see.
Early Gregorian histories speak of a preparation known as moon dew. It is said to be able to resist even the most ferocious flames. Before the dragoons tamed the worms and wyverns of the realm, nobles would daub their castle walls with it in order to guard against dragon fire.
So if we could recreate it...
It might be applied to some material or other in order to provide the protection Mid requires. As to how best to apply it and to what material, perhaps Bardolph and Obelus might be of assistance. I shall speak to them and see what wisdom they might have to offer. If you would be so kind as to procure the necessary ingredients, I shall discuss the specifics of how it might be most effectively put to use with our two friends. The knowledge of the past may yet prove useful to we of the modern era.
Thank you, Hippocrates. And since you're asking others to help you, perhaps I should too.
So you need a hand, do you?
We do. I'll be heading to market for the ingredients we need. I could do with some help. And some company, too.
The other can assist me in researching how best to prepare the shielding itself.
Can we count on your aid?
Always. Well, if Jill's game.
Thank you.
I am sure either of these...
Yeah, I thought so. So which one should we take with us?
...in my research. I leave the decision as to who will go with whom in your capable hands, Clive.
We can take Tarja, or what's her face? I forget her name.
So, Clive, have you made your decision? Who will accompany you on your little excursion?
What do you think? Going back to that experimental thing, this whole section feels like an experiment. They just had a really big boss fight, so obviously they want a breather section. That makes sense. So we're doing this kind of pseudo running around gathering stuff to build an airship section. Okay, that tracks. But then they give us a chance of which kind of dialogue we get for which cutscenes we get. First time we've seen this, by the way, in the whole game. So we've got Tarja, Jill, Tarja, Jill, Tarja. So we're at +1 for Tarja right now. Thankfully, no one's going to vote for Jill, because that would leave us deadlocked, and obviously we can't have it. Up there it is. Okay. So let's get a proper flip there. There we go. The coin actually says Jill.
Very well. So then, what do we need to find?
I have taken the liberty of preparing a list. Here.
White chocobo eggs. Pepio nuts. Are you sure this list is right? Everything on here seems very edible. I would have thought the ingredients would be a little more exotic.
Though these items may seem mundane, they have potent effects that are rarely exploited, effects for which they were once highly prized. So much so, in fact, that they were harvested almost to extinction, hence moon dews having fallen from favor. Now, of course, they can be obtained with ease. You should be able to find everything you need at the market in Northreach.
Is that so? I've been meaning to visit Northreach anyway. I'll set out now. Join me there when you're ready.
I will. Until then.
You two enjoy yourselves.
You too, Tarja.
All right, will Jill get character? Tune in soon to find out.
Where's Jill?
She apparently traveled here separate from me, which is actually kind of weird when I think about it.
There's talk that the glass... How the hell is anyone supposed to afford that price? All anyone ever wants anymore is a warm crate. How am I supposed to... You'll not find a...
Are those Papio nuts? I can never tell.
No, that's bread, Jill. No, seriously. Look what she's looking at. It's a basket full of bread. Jill? Jill?
How goes the hunt for ingredients?
I've only just started. I'm sure everything we need is somewhere amongst all these stalls, though. Why don't we split up and see? We'll take a couple of ingredients each.
All right. What am I looking for?
How about you look for the Papio nuts and some garlic? I'll find the other things we need. We can meet by the gate when we're finished.
What's bread? Yes, these are donuts. We just invented donuts for this setting. You're welcome.
Fresh cuts! Come and
We're gonna get everyone recruited to our side by offering them free donuts.
Any friend of the innkeeper is a friend of mine. Ah, yes.
Buy, sell, or be gone. And?
That's everything. Let's see how Jill's getting on.
Up! You'll not find a...
Here since sunrise, and not a single soul. Did you find everything?
I did. Here.
Garlic and Papio nuts. Perfect. Now all that remains is for Harpocrates to somehow turn all this into what Mid needs to keep her engine cool. But before we head back, would you walk with me a while?
Listen, Jill, will you be my best maid at my wedding with Gav?
Thank you for asking me to help you today. It makes a nice change.
It does. It's good to get away from all the battle and bloodshed for once. Just being here reminds me of when we were children. Do you remember? Walking down Market Street in Rosalith, taking in the sights and smells.
How could I forget? What with Torgal's antics. Remember how his nose would prick up at the scent of sausages? He'd go racing away and we'd have to go running after him. We wouldn't catch you now, would we, boy?
Was there anything you wanted to buy for yourself while we're here?
There was, yes. Well, sort of. Molly in the kitchens told me about a place that sells particularly good pies. Thought you might like to share one with me.
I would. Thank you.
And I saw some bread.
She does know what they are. Why do these breads have holes in them?
Like the baker back in Rosalith used to make.
Well.
What do you think? I thought we might get some soup to dip it in. But then I tried a slice of the butcher's dry-cured ham, and it was just... ah!
You all right?
Sorry. It's just... you're right. I really do feel like a child again being here with you. Clive. Is it wrong of me to enjoy this?
No, Jill. This is how life should be. And it's how our lives will be when our work is finally done. When we can live on our own terms.
I hope so. Thank you, Clive. Well, I suppose we better be getting back. I need to give these ingredients to Harpocrates and Talia. I'll see you at the hideaway.
Take care.
I will. You too.
Probably because they, if I were to guess, they probably reused a lot of the storyboarding, blocking data for Tarja, and thus you just get different lines based on who it is.
How's work on the shielding progressing, Hippocrates?
Well, very well indeed. And thanks in no small part to your kind assistance. I was just explaining to Tarja how we might best go about preparing the moon dew. And now that we have all the ingredients, we may begin.
You can count on me. I've mixed more than a few mysterious concoctions in my time.
I'm sure you have. What about the shielding itself?
Work is underway, under the watchful eyes of Bardolph and Obolus.
I'm sorry, Rax, just to be clear, you're saying that the scene with Gav and Clive was done better than the scene with Jill and Clive. I think we all know what's going on here.
Apparently, it'll be ready soon.
Thank you. All of you.
Right then. Jill, would you join me in the infirmary? Many hands make light work and all that.
Of course. Oh, and Clive, thank you. It was nice just being with you.
It appears our work here is almost at an end. A shame. I was enjoying playing the man of action for once. When both the shielding and the moon dew are ready, it will merely be a matter of applying the one to the other. Followed by a rigorous process of testing and retesting, of course. Perhaps someone ought to warn young Mid of that.
Leave it to me. Thank you, Hippocrates. Well, I'd better go and give Mid the good news then.
Thanks to Cid.
I'm curious of something if you're wondering what I'm doing.
We're seeing troops amassing at every port.
No surprises there.
Welcome to the Patron's Whisper. Come to claim your just desserts? All yours.
Oh, it's just starting to get a little expensive. Nothing fancy, though.
All done?
Damn. So it looks like it does go away if you do any kind of menuing. I was curious.
I think Mid might need some help.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Mid. But you'll be pleased to know that work on the shielding is underway.
You found something for it?
In a manner of speaking, Hippocrates knew of a substance that's highly resistant to heat. A coating that should provide the protection you need. He's supervising the construction and testing of the shielding as we speak.
Brilliant! I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Don't thank me. I'm just the errand boy.
Right then, better start working out how to bolt all these bits together. To the Black Hammer!
Are you sure it's minus the trauma blade of all?
You know, when I got into the smithing game, I thought I'd be making swords and shields, not thermal bleeding didgeridoo-dahs.
Displacement stacks.
Same difference. Whatever you call it, I ain't putting it together in here. It's cramped enough as it is. Let's take this outside. Mid, you get all the parts lined up on the deck. I'll take care of the rest.
On my way.
Oh, and bring me the biggest hammer you can find. This is gonna require some precision walloping.
I've got some bad news, Blade Duval.
It's finished! It's finally finished!
Thank fuck for that. I'll be feeling my hammer arm for weeks.
Thank you, Clive, Blackthorn, everyone. That's one down and just 3 more to go.
I'm sorry.
Oh, didn't I tell you? The Enterprise has 4 mithril engines, and we'll be needing a displacement stack for each.
You don't mean...
Don't worry. Now they've got a finished one to work off, my gang in Canva can build the rest.
Good luck to them, I say. Right, I'm off to get a sling for this elbow. Any other work comes in, keep it to yourselves, eh?
Hey, Steppenwolf. We're actually in MSQ, believe it or not. This is the breather section. Based on what's happening, I'm actually predicting we're going to go after Bahamut next.
What's the matter?
I'm still not sure why.
Nothing. Just daydreaming. Thinking about the Enterprise sailing off over the horizon to shores unknown, searching for a land untouched by the Blight, just like me and my dad planned. So if the worst came to the worst and every scrap of soil in the Twins turned black, we might still have a chance. That's what she was meant to be. You see, one last chance just in case we needed it. But now she's so close to being finished, I've realized I don't want her to be that. I don't want her to be just a lifeboat for us to cling to if things get desperate. I want people to sail aboard her by choice, not from the lack of it. In a world where we're not just trying to survive, but where we can actually live.
I'm working on that. And I'll do everything I can to get you what you want.
Don't you always? All right. My mind's made up. As soon as the Enterprise is fit to sail, I'm putting her under your command. Sod our plans, I'm trusting in yours.
Are you sure about this?
Something tells me it's what my dad would have wanted.
He'd be proud of you.
You were gonna visit his grave, weren't you?
I was. And you can come too, now that your little project is finished.
Right. There's just one thing I need to finish up first. Won't be a mo.
All right. I'll let Otto know you're coming. Meet us in the mess when you're ready.
Aye, aye, Captain.
And yeah, Drakaji is right. I keep saying going after Bahamut. What I mean is we're going after the crystal. Even with just basic logic, it's the most reasonable thing to do next. Look at that. What do you see? How many crystals do you see there? Like, this is it. Getting to this thing is going to be its whole completely separate chore. Not only is it physically far away, but it's in deeply, deeply in enemy territory. So that sucker right there is our only real next, viable next destination. Still need to figure out what's going on with this hole, too. Interesting.
He cracked the crystal too? You're joking.
It's a good question. True, that's right. Which I do not have an answer to. interesting. Aw. Hey, Desperado Joe. Do it.
Trouble with the ledgers. Shouldn't he be asking Otto for help?
So we rather suddenly just got like four side quests. So this should be interesting. I noticed earlier it mentioned we can only track 5 quests at a time, which hypothetically means we can have more than 5 quests at a time. We haven't gotten even close to that yet.
What could be wrong with Torgor? He seemed well enough when I last saw him. Hopefully
Fair,
there's nothing.
late to all.
But I should speak to Blackthorn just in case.
Blacksmith's Blues 2. Blacksmith Boogaloo. I only have the 3 so far. In a good way, Rax, or...
Blackthorn, do you have a moment?
Not really, no.
This won't take long. I just wanted to ask how you're getting on. August was worried about you, and you might still be doubting your craft, even after learning the trick of that cuirass. Is there something else weighing on your mind? Perhaps sharing your thoughts might help.
That bastard's like a dog with a bone. Still, you've got a keen eye, I'll give him that. It's just, well, Karen showed me something. Something I've never seen before.
And that was?
A sword. An odd-looking thing with a single-edged blade. The metal itself wasn't anything to write home about, but fuck me, the edge on it. You could slice a man clean in two with a weapon like that, and he'd be halfway home before he even realized he'd been cut.
So that's what's troubling you?
Nah. Not troubling me exactly. More distracting. Can't stop thinking, how do you get an edge that sharp? It's driving me mad.
And if you knew how to do it, we could arm the curse breakers with even better blades.
That's about the size of it, yeah.
I'll see what I can find out. Sharper swords are always welcome. And we can't have our master blacksmith being distracted.
You're a soft touch, you know that. But I can't say I'm not grateful for it. Good luck, eh?
Thank you. Let's see what Karen knows about this sword. I got your note. You think something's wrong with Torgor?
So you can read. Congratulations. But I didn't say I were wrong with him. I said something weren't right. He's not been eating me treats. He used to love cracking the bones from Molly's boiled brown, but now he won't so much as look at them. Didn't like him. Which is why I'm of a mind that his mind's on something else. You've not been working him too hard, have you?
No harder than usual. Is that it, boy? Do you need a rest?
What was it you said he was? A frost wolf?
That's what the lawsman seems to think.
Then maybe this all has something to do with whatever it is that's woken inside him.
I suppose things have been different since Rosalith. Perhaps Hippocrates knows something.
Instead of everything, you mean? Perhaps.
You're looking well, Karen.
What do you want? Out with it.
I want to know about the sword you showed Blackthorn. Single-edged and extremely sharp.
Running around after him again, are you?
I suppose I am, yes. But I need to help him find out how to work an edge like that. It's driving him to distraction.
Little wonder, I suppose. There's not many like that make it as far as the twins, and those that do go straight into private collections. Which made it nice and easy finding a buyer.
Can you tell me who bought it? Where is it now?
You think I tell people who my clients are? Suppose you're not likely to go nicking him off me, are you now? Fine. If you stop mooning at me like that. Lord Ignac's the man you want. Dalmekian bloke. Collects weapons and the like. And he's got more money than sense, which is why he's one of my favourite clients. Reckon he'll still be at the inn in Dalamil, where I left him.
Thank you, Karen.
Oh, and he's a touch eccentric, if you take my meaning.
I appreciate the warning.
Yeah, it would be easy for someone like Blackthorn to be more irritating than he is. But he's cantankerous without being, well, a dick.
Lawsman, I need to ask you about Torgal. Something's not right with him.
He isn't ill, is he?
I don't think so. But according to Lady Karen, he seems to have lost his appetite, which is certainly a new development. She says he's hardly been touching his bones of late, and she believes it may have something to do with what happened at Rosalith Castle.
I rather think she might be right, though not about his appetite. All canids are instinctively inclined to crack open bones for the rich marrow that resides within, and I see no reason why a frost wolf should be any different. Accordingly, I suspect it is not a lack of appetite that afflicts Torgal, but a surfeit of it. If we assume that his newfound magics require additional nourishment to sustain, it may well be that the bones Lady Karen is accustomed to providing are no longer sufficient. Frost wolves, after all, habitually prey upon far larger animals, whose bones may yield altogether different nutrients. As to where one might find a suitable substitute, some antelopes that graze the meadows of eastern Rosaria have been known to grow to a size more than double that of their lesser cousins.
I don't recall ever seeing any that large.
And little wonder. The oldest and largest such creatures rarely leave the safety of the highlands for fear of predators. The last elder antelope sighting I recall hearing about took place near Cressida, and that was long before the village was abandoned.
Even so, it seems like a good place to start.
Good hunting, Clive.
Yeah, they like to do their homework a lot, Spartan. 14 does that as well. Hell, 9 did that. 8 tried to do that. You know, it's really sad, Blitterval. Cloud is like that too, in the original work, and then, you know, people forgot about that for a lot of his ancillary works. Thankfully, they remembered again when it came to FF701.
Mid told me she was building a ship.
Clive, did you get my letter?
That's why I'm here.
Shh. Otto might be listening.
Is this better?
Yeah.
A little. Listen. I've some bad news. It turns out the hideaway may be
slightly behind in its payment to certain lenders, and it's maybe my fault. But I swear to the goddess, I thought I had the numbers square. Sadly, that square turned out to be more of a circle. 0, you might say. I can straighten it out, I swear, but it's gonna take some time, and I'm gonna need help keeping it from Otto.
Bit late for that, I'd say.
There you are! What a surprise!
So let me get this straight. You forget to pay our lenders what they're due, and instead of coming straight to me, you get Clive to come to you. And I hope he'll dig you out of the hole you've dug for yourself. Clive, the man in charge of the place you've been cheerfully trying to bankrupt. And you thought this was a cunning plan. Why? Well, who needs paying?
Oh, just Martha. And the dame. And, well, Lady Karen. But only 500 talents.
We owe 3 of our most trusted friends 5 million gil.
Hang on. He said 500 talents, right? So 1,000 gil is 1 talent. Which means earlier, when we got 2,000 talents. Okay.
Each. 5 million. Each.
How is that even physically possible? We're not running an army. This is a ragtag group of nobodies.
They lent us the bulk of the money we used to rebuild the hideaway, you see, and, well, I must have made some sort of oversight.
Those ledgers were my responsibility, and it was my decision to entrust them to you. This is my fault.
I should also mention that the wealth that Byron brought with him would only barely cover that particular debt. Jesus Christ, dude.
Do we have that much to hand? I can always ask my uncle.
No, we don't. And no, you won't. We've lightened Lord Rosfield's purse enough. After the king's ransom we had off him, he deserves better than to see our begging bowl.
Yeah, where is that king's ransom, by the way? The 20 million gil? Thank you for acknowledging that, by the way. Where is that? What ate that up? Like, I, of all people, know exactly how easy it is for a budget to be chewed away bit by tiny little termites. But 20 million doesn't just go poof. No, million. A million. 20 million.
Besides, we'll need to learn to stand on our own if we're gonna make this work.
All right. But that doesn't mean you have to shoulder the burden yourself. Is there anything I can do to help?
There might be. How'd you fancy taking these to Martha and the dame?
Rocks.
Rocks, he says. Worth 1,000 talents apiece, these are. A little something Cid and I set aside for when times got lean. And I reckon 15 million in overdue debt probably qualifies. I just hope our associates' eyes are a bit more discerning than yours.
I'm sure there will be.
Should be me making the rounds, really. But you know how it is with this place. Orders to bark, arses to wipe, and all that.
I know. Which is why I don't mind going in your place.
Go. Do you know why I only gave Master Clive here 2 star rubies?
Because you'd rather Lady Karen killed me.
Because I'd rather Lady Karen killed you. Yes.
Well, I suppose this is goodbye then.
Nice knowing you, buddy.
I'm sure Karen will understand.
Really? Do you think so?
No.
I don't.
Yep. So what I'm hearing is we need to start actually undergoing some raids on Imperial territories when we attack them. Because we need money. Just I hate the idea of becoming a marauder. Well, I guess at this point we're more of a bandit.
Just need a little bit more money.
Yeah, we need to get pillaging. As absolutely weird as that sounds, I mean that sincerely. We kind of do, if we're going to keep this going for any length of time at all. You can't rely on patronage alone for this kind of thing.
That's it then. I'm buggered. Here, Cid. Reckon you might be just the man to help me out of a bit of bother, if you've a mind to.
Let's hear it.
Well, it's about this alembic the chief's got me making. Lovely bit of kit it is. Bung in a solution you want splitting, and it will separate it out, just like that. Problem is, it won't always get rid of all the impurities. And with some of the stuff we need it for, that ain't good enough. Which is why I've been looking for something to filter the liquid we'll be cooking off. And that's where I was hoping you could help me out.
Okay.
I imagine Ty could get some use out of this alembic too. Distilling medicines and the like. All right. Why not?
Proper job!
So what exactly do you need for this filter?
Nothing but bomb ash'll do, says the chief. Gave me a sample she'd obtained from the university stores. Couldn't believe my eyes. You pour the blackest blight water through it, and it comes out clear as a mountain stream. So, I did a bit of reading about where I might be able to get hold of some. And do you know what I found out? It's only the blimmin' bones of a bomb king. They leave them behind when they die, see?
I take it that's where I come in.
If you wouldn't mind. I saw a billet on the hunt board for one just the other day. Would have gone myself, but, well, fighting dirty great balls of flame ain't exactly my forte. You, on the other hand...
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Thank you kindly. And good hunting, eh?
Yeah, no, it continues to be weird, Rex. Okay, deliver, slay, fine. Okay. Yeah, I guess Tales of Berseria was kind of in that direction. Although they kind of overplayed it. What I mean by that is we were still very clearly the heroes. Even though the whole theme was like, we're the villains. You see any bombs lately? Well, I got a bit might interest you. Right. Well, it looks like it's that one. The Bomb King, if I were to guess. Breaker of Worlds. Raise eyebrow. There's actually several of these with no pictures. If I had to compare this game to an FF14 expansion, it would probably be ARR or Heaven's Word, I'd say. One of those two. Okay. Yeah, why do you keep putting guns to my head? God! Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that, but you are, of course, correct. the same damn area. It's okay, I know y'all have just this disease where you just have to put guns to people's heads. That is a deep hole. Look at that. Can someone do me a favor? Just speed this up for me, please. Could someone tell me where the Bomb King is? It says it's in the crock, but that's not as helpful as I would like. Where? Like, this is Sandbreak, right? I'm not an idiot. This is the Holy Kingdom of Death, right? That might explain it, because, yeah. In fact, I know there's a zone line right there, too. And there's some stuff over here I haven't explored. Ah, there it is. I see it. Damn it, Venters. I need you to stop giving me money, sir.
That'll do, girl.
Okay, so that's Heaven Hall, and there's the crock. Okay. I was hoping for a warp point. This is a good scene, Venters. Yeah, I bet. I'm gonna be honest, if you guys hadn't been coaching me, I would not have seen that little spit of navigable land. I'm gonna AFK very briefly, but before I do, thank you, Venters, as always. Much appreciated. If you give me one moment here. Down. Forwards. Squeak it in to R, FF7R2, and FF7R1. Done. I'll be right back. Good luck, Spartan. You're gonna need it. No, I'm kidding. You won't be at the part where dungeons get bad in FF14. Bad's the wrong word. Difficult for a few more expansions. No, I'm gonna need luck, because I'm about to die.
Look what we have here. Greetings, Your Majesty.
What? That's called Bomb Babe. Juggled him too hard.
Too slow.
slow.
Your reign is over. Now to collect the ash. This looks like the stuff. Let's see if there's any more. That should do it. If the wine needs more than this, he can fetch it himself.
Have a good movie, Ruth.
There's talk that the Glassgate flood has finally spread.
Did you hear? The gate's to heaven.
I want to see you again.
It's all right. I'll be waiting.
Aw.
What am I going to do without Sweetwater and Olive Talc?
Still no caravan from the Dominion's perfumeries yet, then?
Milady, I come bearing gifts.
Gifts? Whatever is the occasion.
We owe you a lot of money. Like, a lot of money.
Oh my. Clive, you really have outdone yourself.
Otto asked me to give it to you. To settle the hideaway's debt with the Veil. And to compensate you for the time it took us to do so.
You disappoint me, Clive. I thought you might finally be warming to me.
No.
Tell Otto he can keep his baubles. I tried to tell him as much the first time around. The man owes me nothing, nor does the hideaway. My contribution to the restoration effort was made freely and willingly. It was the least I could do.
You once told me Cid did you a kindness. I'd like to do the same. Please, accept it. For my sake. And for Otto's. For all of us. For all you've done.
Yeah, we owe you a lot of money. For real.
It is rather fetching, isn't it? Very well. Otto is lucky to have you, Clive. I doubt anything could ever replace his son. But you and the others at the hideaway are the closest thing he has to family.
Otto had a son.
Long ago, yes. Cid told me Otto lost him when he was just a boy, and blamed himself for not being able to stop it. I don't know how it happened, whether there was anything he could have done, but it was clear that it weighed heavily on him.
I didn't know.
How could you have? I doubt anyone did. Besides Cid, I've never met a man more keen to bear his sorrows in stoic silence. An ill habit, given that both have always been surrounded by friends desperate to help them.
I'm beginning to see that.
Clive, we weren't expecting you.
I wasn't expecting to be here, but it seems we still owe you a considerable amount of coin for your help with our rebuilding efforts. And though I doubt it's what you were expecting, we were hoping you'd take this as payment.
A star ruby? I can't accept this. It's worth at least twice what you owe me. More if you can find yourself the right buyer.
Think of the difference as interest.
Interest? If word got out I charged that much, no one would ever borrow from me again. Anyway, why are you the one here asking me about this? I'd have expected Otto. Bit much sending the Lord Marquis out to settle your debts, isn't it? The old goat working himself to death again.
Something like that. Most days I think he's the only reason the hideaway's still standing.
Same as always, eh? Back when the place was nothing but a twinkle in the eye of a recently retired Lord Commander, word is he was the first one Cid reached out to. Probably knew that without his strong arm and level head, the idea would never get off the ground. Cid may have been the face of the hideaway, but Otto's always been the backbone. And when Cid passed away, we were all worried that would be the end of it. That Otto would just give up.
His death was hard on everyone. But it must have hit Otto hardest of all.
But he didn't give up, did he? Quite the opposite, in fact. If I recall, he was the one who nominated you as Cid's replacement, and rallied the rest around you. I reckon what he saw in Cid, he saw in you too. And don't we all? Doesn't hurt that you're half as stubborn and twice as handsome, neither. That, and you keep good company.
I suppose I do. Goat will want to know the stones were delivered. If he's still with us.
No, he did. Something I was thinking about randomly. FF6 has a similar overall structure, right? There's a point at which things get pretty dark and pretty bleak. But then things are pretty much on a non-stop upscale shortly thereafter. What I find absolutely fascinating is they decided to have the uptick, the uplifting, hopeful part of the game, be the second half of the game. Now, I know what you're saying, duh, but no, I'm trying to dance around specific spoilers, but if you understand why that's... what happens at FF6 in the second half, you understand why that's kind of weird. It's an interesting approach. How was it, Russ? Oh, okay. Yeah. Have not eaten yet. Like, things get bad, and then get worse, and then get worse, and then get worse in very short order. But once it turns around, it never dips back down again. Not once. Still going that way? Nope. Yeah, there's a reason I try to dance around some specifics when it comes to discussing the FFs. Unrelated spoilers and all that. I do like eating deer, but no.
Well, it's certainly quiet. If I were a giant antelope, it would seem like just the place. I doubt we'll find one bigger than that. You hungry, Torgal?
Eat them, Torgal. Eat them to death! Yep, FF6 is a video game. And confirm.
Stay down!
Would Stranger of Paradise spoil something for you? Or maybe I don't want an answer to that question. Eat up, Torgo.
Now. Will it be enough, I wonder? I say that answers my question. Which means we owe the lawsman our thanks. You're just a big puppy, aren't you? A very big puppy. You do know you can take that with you, Torgal. Lady Karen will be relieved to hear you've got your appetite back. Come on, boy.
Yep, we got one bone out of all of those. It was a WoW vanilla quest. That is true, Spartan. But the reason for the anti-spoiler mentality for me is that I don't want to make the decision for you. I respect your ability and right to make that decision for yourself. If you want spoilers, you can seek them out. But if you don't want spoilers, I'm not going to ruin it for you.
I noticed you and Torgal had gone off somewhere. Take him for a walk, did you?
You could say that.
So, Molly's leftovers weren't good enough, eh? That'll teach me for treating you like you're still a pup. All right, no need to shout. Now we know what you're after, I can see about getting some in.
Speaking of which, I brought one for later. Can I leave it with you?
1. Oh no, I actually got 5 for later. We got 5 femurs.
You can, eh? I'm nice like that.
Ugh, out of all of that.
In return, you can thank Tomes for me. The bloody know-it-all.
I was just on my way to see him.
Yep, a lot of people who don't know things in this setting. It's okay. Joshua is well learned, so he's got this. Turns out Jill is actually blind. That's why she's not in the game for so many times. She keeps bunking into walls instead of actually being in the quests.
Ah, Clive. Were you able to locate your quarry?
We were indeed, Lawsman. You pointed us in exactly the right direction. And Torgal's been a very happy hound ever since.
Very good, very good.
Lady Karen sends her thanks, by the way, for your part in solving the mystery.
Ah. But that reminds me. After your last visit, I found myself pondering Torgal's talents. Do you recall our conversation concerning Lady Jill's role in Torgal's transformation?
About how she somehow woke the power within him.
Precisely that. A reasonable conclusion, I thought. But one which raised certain questions in my mind. You see, the Fenrir of legend served Shiva and Shiva alone. And while the powers attributed to him are certainly impressive, the records imply they are somewhat different in nature to those you described Torgal as having used.
What are you suggesting?
That Torgal may be the beneficiary of more than one icon's power. Consider that in addition to Lady Jill, he has served as a loyal companion to you, your brother, and even the late Cid. In short, the icons hitherto near at hand, or should I say at paw, have been diverse and plenty, and that number has only grown as the realm's dominance have fallen to your sword. One can but speculate as to how all of this has affected Torgal.
He has seemed more fierce of late.
And if I am not mistaken, he will grow fiercer still. We are fortunate indeed to be able to count him amongst our allies and not our adversaries.
Oh, he's more than an ally. He's a friend.
And that's why I will never pet him again. Interesting. I'll have to look into it, Ross. Thank you for checking. So, Blade Vault evoked an amusing thought for me. So Joshua doesn't know how to breathe, but it's okay because he's the Phoenix. So every 3 minutes or so he dies, but he just gets right back up again.
Is that the thing Tomes helped you with?
Mid told me she was building a ship.
Good. Still alive, I see. So Lady Karen accepted the ruby.
Ah, about that. I tried my best, but she was just too stubborn to take it. She threw it right back in my face, in fact, and told me I could stick my stupid stone where the sun don't shine.
Karen refused payment.
I hope it wasn't something I said.
I'm sure you were as tactful as ever. Let me see what I can do.
Damn it, I was just talking to her.
Wonderful. I hope you have better luck than I did.
Oh, screw it, while we're here.
I think Mid might need some help.
That's true, Doom Rider. She'll accept me to her bed someday.
All right there, Cid? How's that hunt for the bomb ash going?
I have it here.
That's the stuff. And plenty of it, too. Enough to keep the Olympic bubbling away for a good old while. You're a gent, Cid. Let nothing say otherwise. Right then, let's get this contraption up and running.
Five years later. Nope, sorry, I said I wouldn't bring it up. Sorry.
The Telemon Alembic. And it works just like the chief said it would.
Very impressive.
Says the man who cut down a burning boulder. Speaking of which, I still haven't returned the favor.
There's no need. The good it will do for the hideaway is reward enough.
Don't be silly. Why don't you let me take a look at that bag of yours? The one you keep your potions in. Reckon I could work some magic
Oh
on...
my god.
What kind of magic?
Well, we happen to have isolated a substance in our test run of the Alembic that I reckon will make even the toughest lever supple as anything.
Yeah, 40 hours in, we're getting this.
To breathe new life into old boots and the like. Save the hideaway a few gil. Ah, I reckon if we slap a bit on your bag, it'll loosen it up enough for you to squeeze in a bottle or two more.
Well, it can't hurt to try, I suppose.
That's the spirit. Leave it with me. I'll only be a mo.
So how many additional potions are we getting from this is the real question.
Well, what do you reckon?
It certainly feels more flexible.
Right? Told you.
Thank you. I think.
No. Thank you for supporting Mid and the rest of us in our endeavors. Without you, we'd never have been able to discover wonders like that stuff I rubbed on your bag. And I'm telling you, there's plenty more where that came from.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. This is a fairly common type of gameplay upgrade. Although now I'm thinking. Okay, so 2 more potions, 1 more high potion, 1 more tonic. Nice. Fusility. Yeah, I was probably a few seconds away from having to redo the Hugo fight. It's probably the only time in the entire game where I've actually been pushed. Good fight, but man. Ironically, I still blame the tonic issue for that.
Mid told me she was building a ship.
Is that the thing Tomes helped with?
Lady Karen, Goad tells me you weren't happy with our offer. Would you prefer the debt was repaid in coin?
What debt? I don't recall lending any of you lot me hard-earned gil. I may have tossed a talent or two in the hideaway's coffers, but those were donations, and you can hardly call it charity if you go asking for it back.
Of course not. But one good turn deserves another. And our circumstances have changed. Surely you wouldn't shun the gratitude of a pauper who happened to have become a prince.
Oh, so you're a prince now, are you? Fine. But I'm selling it and taking what I'm owed, then you're getting the rest whether you like it or not. Where'd you even get this? A decent trader might nab 1,000 talents for a star ruby. A canny one, meanwhile, might claim it were nicked from the belt of Cid the Outlaw himself and ask twice as much. Might be I already have a buyer in mind. Might be you even know her. A fine continental maid whose beauty's only eclipsed by a guile in commerce. You wouldn't mind, would you?
Not at all. Just be sure to tell her that it's always a pleasure doing business.
Wow.
I hear you ended up delivering all 3 stones. Thanks to this lump. I sometimes wonder what I pay you for.
Speaking of which, I still haven't been paid last month's wages.
Oh, so you remember what's owed to you then? Get your ass behind that disc of yours and don't get up before those ledgers are square.
Right away.
I've seen that before.
You have, yeah. Plenty of times. It was the only goblet Cid ever used. Either out of habit, or because the filthy sod couldn't be bothered to find a clean one.
I knew so little about him.
Like most people.
Martha and the Dame both seem to have fond memories of him.
I bet they do.
How long did you know Cid before he...
Before he died. 20 summers, give or take. Back in the day, I was a purser on a trade ship, which is where I met him. He bought passage to... I forget where. But having nothing better to do on the long nights, we set up drinking island rum till the morning bell dragged me back to my duties. Quit my post not long after that. On account of making a fine maiden's belly fat. But me and Cid stayed close, promising we'd one day sail the seas again. That was before fate stepped in and said she was having none of it. The magic woke inside my son soon after his first name day, and there was no hiding his knack.
Couldn't you and your family have...
My family were the ones who summoned the constable, wanted the monster taken away. I couldn't turn my back on him, forget what I felt, and I couldn't for the life of me understand how they could. Luckily, Cid was of the same mind as me. It was him who stood beside me when all I wanted was to tear the whole world down. Him who cried for me when I had no tears left of my own. Him who swore he'd do everything he could to to stop it from happening again. And he was true to his word, too. Left the Royal Army once and for all. His ranks, his ribbons, gone. Just like that. Threw away everything he had. All to right a wrong that no one else had the courage to face. I knew then I'd follow that man to the ends of the earth. He was always too clever for his own good, was Cid. Saw the world for what it really was, while the rest of us were content to go along with the lie we were shown. And it can't have been easy, bearing that burden alone. But he didn't let it stop him. He never lost faith in what he believed was right. And that gave us faith in him. Faith he'd steer us true. So I swore to myself that I'd always be right behind him, ready to catch the stubborn sod, if ever he should fall. But I couldn't even do that. Ignore me. Just the ramblings of a tired old man. Leave that lot. I'll tidy it up in a bit.
This is Cid's handwriting. Dear Otto.
I may be drunk, but I wanted you to know this place would be fucked without you. Love you, you grumpy old sod.
This note.
Hmm? What about it?
Cid was right. Without you, we'd all be lost.
He should have bloody well said so then. Just once. Before he went. But then, why would he? Him, or anyone? I'd only have told him to piss off. You're wrong, though. Both of you. It was never just me keeping the hideaway afloat. It was all of us. I just shoved people in the right direction, and I barely seem to be able to do that anymore.
Would you rather goat were at the helm?
Well, maybe I've got a few more years left in me.
I'm going to hold you to that, Otto.
Before you go, Cid would have wanted you to have this.
But that's...
This'll do me just fine. Thanks for the ray of sunshine. I'll see if I can't pay you back.
Already have.
I'm sorry, where the hell were those side quests in the first half of the game? Like, for real. No, that was solid. That was solid. And yeah, I like that too, BB Good Fate. Too many games, too many fiction, actually, tend to forget the value of support.
People take notice of wealthy men. Shouldn't be too hard to track down Karen's collector.
We actually talked about this during the FF14 run, and one of the things that frustrates me so much about many, not all, of FF14 side quests is how vacuous they are, which wastes resources. People have to spend time and effort and money animating and writing and setting up the quest and setting up the scripts for those, when they could just reallocate that time and effort somewhere else.
The St. Drake's Fang is gone.
Same complaint here.
The crystal gone. What are we gonna do?
Calm yourself.
Let me guess, PB stands for pretty bad, right? So pretty bad, Good Fate.
My reputation will be ruined.
Exactly, Blitz.
Ruined.
Calm yourself, Lord Ignac, I beg of you, before you do yourself a mischief.
Pardon the intrusion, but...
Out! Get out! I paid for these rooms so I wouldn't be disturbed. Leave me be!
Please, allow me to apologize. His lordship is going through a difficult time, and he's never been fond of guests arriving unannounced.
Radim! Get rid of the filthy oaf this instant!
Very good, Lord Ignac. Would you mind stepping outside for a moment?
I'm sorry if I've caused you any trouble.
That? Oh, no. That's just how his lordship is. Though the morning's events have left him somewhat fractious. He has been dispossessed of his luggage, you see. The thieves also made away with a considerable amount of coin. Coin the innkeeper will soon be keen to collect.
I don't suppose a certain blade was among the stolen items. A single-edged sword. It was purchased from a merchant friend of mine.
Ah, you know Lady Karen? Yes, I'm afraid it was.
Then I'll retrieve Lord Ignac's luggage. But I have one condition.
You have but to state it. You are welcome to anything that is within my power to grant.
I want an audience with Lord Ignac. A few minutes should be enough. Then I'll be on my way.
A condition I would be a fool to refuse. Of course, you shall have your audience.
I don't suppose you saw where the thieves went.
I did not, no. Though some discreet inquiries made on his lordship's behalf mean that I know where you might find them. The bandit's bed. Every ill-gotten coin in Dalamel is said to pass through that disreputable corner of the Valcroy.
And that's where I'm heading.
I shall speak to Lord Ignac in your absence, and arrange for an audience upon your triumphant return.
That will be very kind of you.
Farewell, and best of luck.
I mean, he'd almost have to be working for that jackass.
Faster!
I think after this side quest, I'm going to cut off for a bit. I'm having fatigue attacks. I apologize. Well, it's entirely possible it's just a side product of whatever's going around right now. I know plenty of people in plenty of places who are currently fighting off or recovering from whatever is currently making the rounds. I'm in the recovering from category right now. Yesterday was my worst day. Yeah, there's just not enough ether around here. Uh-oh, fat guy.
We've got company! Come on, lads, let's tear the bastard's head off!
You heard him. There we go.
Too slow. Well done.
Probably played too well. In lore, we're probably just so far ahead of these people in terms of power output potential that, yeah, this is just a nothing. I need to refill my potions. All I've heard is that it's a game, and it's totally woke, but for real, I haven't heard much. What do you mean, Triple?
This must be Ignac's luggage. Nothing seems to be damaged. All right. Let's get it back to Dalamel.
You know, I'm not actually sure. Does anybody know? I assumed it had the same timer and you could just move it, but that's presumption.
I hear I have you to thank for the return of my effects. What shall I call you, my good man?
Wyvern. Glad to make your acquaintance.
A formidable name indeed. Well, Wyvern, I appear to be in your debt. Redeem here tells me you wished for an audience. Is that all?
A few moments of your time should suffice, yes.
You're a peculiar fellow, Wyvern. All right, speak.
Master Wyvern was wondering if you could tell him about a certain single-edged sword you recently acquired.
Oh, a true work of art, that one. Karen drove me hard on the price, but I would have sold her Radim here to get my hands on that sword. It was made in the Outer Isles, far beyond the Twins, and is used exclusively by the practitioners of a unique school of swordsmanship.
They call themselves the Busters.
No combat should ever exceed a single strike, and hone their blades to such perfection that none ever does. Each sword is made for that one perfect stroke, and for that stroke only. They crack upon a second blow. There's a brutal sort of beauty to it, really.
But how do they hone such an edge?
Fine question. Why, they use a whetstone, of course. Whetstones, rather. A whole array of them, ranging from the coarse to the fine. 10,000 licks with the sharpening stone, then 10,000 more. But it is the final stone which lends the blade its legendary sharpness. A mineral quite foreign to this great realm of ours. And that is the key. The secret ingredient. Wyvern, it occurs to me that my little lecture is hardly equal to services rendered. Take this, together with my regards. The very stone of which I spoke, far rarer among collectors than even the blade itself, and a far more fitting payment.
Thank you.
Pardon the intrusion, my lordship. However, it is long past time we prepared ourselves to depart.
So it is. I am locked in bitter competition with a rival collector of curiosities. I am one step ahead of the unscrupulous scoundrel, but he is hard at my heels.
Are there many other collectors out there?
Too many to count, but only one do I consider my nemesis. Lord Byron Rosfield.
Called that one.
And is a perennial thorn in my side.
I can imagine.
Farewell, Wyvern. May our paths cross again. Radim, we mustn't dawdle.
I think his lordship is rather taken with you, Master Wyvern. Thank you again for your assistance. Coming, my lordship. I'll be right there.
Trust Uncle Byron to find such an interesting rival. Now, let's see what Blackthorn makes of this whetstone, shall we?
Yeah, ditto, Rex. Love that button. I know I've been gushing about that since it first showed up, and I don't care. It continues to be an awesome feature. Hey, look, we're here. Let's turn in the quest. God.
But hopefully he'll agree it was worth it.
You learned something about that sword, then?
I did better than that.
Hey, a whetstone?
Yes. But not one you'll find anywhere in Valisthea.
Agree it has to mean.
No wonder I couldn't get the same finish on the grinding wheel. One hit and all done, eh? Might not be so bad if all you ever fought were duels. Good luck on the battlefield. Your second opponent would be your last, no matter how good you were.
Even so, is there some way it could be used to give the curse breakers an edge?
I think so, yeah. With this whetstone and the right kind of steel, I could probably even make a twin of the blade that rattled me. But there'd be no replacing this little rock once I worn it down to a sliver. I reckon we get a dozen swords from it, if that. Swords that the curse breakers wouldn't know how to wield properly, and that would see them through a single fire piece. Nah, no point trying to copy that thing. Be about as much use as a wax anvil. But finishing our blades with a whetstone this fine, now that's something to consider. And what's finer than fallen masonry, eh? Or more hard-wearing, for that matter. Just imagine it. Good Valisthean steel with an edge as sharp as any found in the Outer Isles. I won't make a copy, nah. I'll make something much better.
I'm sure the curse breakers will be delighted. Just don't push yourself too hard.
Don't you worry about me, sunshine. I've been working day and night since I was half your age, and I'll still be here when you're long gone. Hey, thanks, Clive. I mean it. I owe you one, August too. It's good to know someone's looking out for me.
He'll be happy to hear you said that.
And I'll see that my debt to you's paid. First new blade I make's got your name on it. You come and find me when you've got the materials.
All right. I will.
Necessary for crafting Excalibur. Okay. What, pray tell, does Excalibur take?
What do you need? What do you want?
Grimalkin hide. That's actually all I'm missing. What the hell? Can someone Google that for me real quick? Oh, it's a hunt. Could someone Google that for me anyways? Find out which of those hunt things gives me the Grimalkin hide. Oh, I just lost chat for some reason. Hunt name would be acceptable, yes, thank you. I'm not going to do it right now. I really do need to lay down. But if I at least know what I'm aiming for, I'll remember it for later.
Is that the thing Tomes helped with?
Mid told me she was building a ship.
So let's see how bad this thing is. That's only a C. That'll be a joke. Probably a Rex. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. That's what I would do if I was making this. Let's just do this one. The Breaker of Worlds. Anyways, as promised, I'm going to chop off a little early. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be feeling a little bit more over the weather as opposed to under it. You might actually do something other than side quests. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'll see y'all.